All right. Okay, today we are going to learn how to import multiple Excel sheets and files into R. And we will also be following instructions from R for Data Science by Eddie Wickham et al. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, so this is, we will follow from here, reading multiple files, but in addition, we'll do multiple Excel sheets. So I'll be flipping back and forth from RStudio to here, and then maybe other places as we progress. So let's get started. So we are here, and so this is what we are doing. And yesterday we learned how to create a project directory. So today I changed my mind again, and I created a directory called R for Data Science Dutch ADS. And this is the directory that we'll be using for data science tutorials. We have saved our data here. So under data, I created two additional folders, one for raw data and one for tidy data. There's no data that has already been tidied, but we have two items here under raw file, which is we have multiple files. There are 10 of these. Here we are going to use the 2008 or South Sudan 2008 census data just for learning purposes. We are not saying this is what the population counts are now, but we are just using this data to teach what we want to share with you all. And then this here contain multiple sheets. And let's see if we can view it. Okay. So it has multiple sheets, as you can see. So the first one is Lakes State, Unity State, Jonglei State, Upper Nile, and so on. So these, we will learn how to look through these. So first we will see how to look through these Excel sheets by using for loop. And then later on, we will use the purrr package from Tidyverse, which is more efficient than for loop. So the first thing we will do, we will load the packages, the libraries that we are going to use. I'm in Quadro Visual Editor. So we will load. So before we load the libraries, I would like to suppress messages. And in Quadro, you just write the pound key and then the vertical toward that, or a symbol and then space, and then when you start typing message or the argument or option, then it's gonna give you the auto completion. Like when you click next, then here maybe suppress warnings or warning. Now we will load our libraries. To load a library or a package in R, you call library, and then type the name of the library. Here we are going to load all the I think there are 9 packages within tidyverse. We are going to load all of them at once. And then we will also load read Excel, which we are going to use for reading in these Excel files. The other package that we may need, but I may not implement it in this tutorial, is write Excel for saving Excel files. So, but I think we will save it for next time. Now we have our libraries. So let's go and see how we can look through all these Excel sheets. Again, we go to our chunk, code chunk. Let us retrieve the path where we have saved our file. We have it, and it's gonna be this one. Okay, so I did // because we have the file here, but now we are here. We are in this here. So I had to come outside and then now go into this directory. So this is the path of the file. Let me do this. And this is the path to the file that has multiple Excel sheets. And then now let's say for loop. To do for loop, we will need to extract the sheets by calling Excel sheet function on path. Now let's run it. And this is telling us that this file or path contains 10 sheets, which is true because we just saw it when we opened the file. So the file. Now we are going to look through this, and to look through this, so we will say for, and let's see when we say this. So when we just do the auto completion, it's always going to give us the suggestion of what we want to say. So we are going to say for sheet, it doesn't matter what we call the first one. The second one is what we must call sheets. So for just a single sheet in sheets, we are going to do something. And we are going to call, maybe let's call this. Okay, I forgot something. One step that I forgot. We need to initialize. So let's say census 2008. We will create this as a table, a data frame. And that is when we look through all this, like each sheet at a time, and then later on we will combine all these sheets into one large file. And then maybe inside here we can say this, and let's do read underscore, and it's going to be Excel. So there are 3 options for Excel, but we will use this one. And we put in the path, and then sheet is going to be the same sheet that we are saying here. This sheet here is an argument. So sheet is equal sheet. And then we are going to read that. And so let's say when we run this, what do we find? And then the next thing we will do is at the end, we will combine all the sheets, and we will use bind rows from dplyr, and we are saying census 28. We are going to add, what do we call it? I think we call it, yeah, we call it this here. And now, let's see, so we have to run it from here downward. Let's run it and see what will happen. And do we have any output? Okay. Okay, so we are getting an error, and it is saying incomplete expression path. This here. Okay, so let's see what the issue is. Let's try this again. We come in here. And this is this. Okay, now it works. So we have just generated this data, and this is the data that we have imported by just looping through the Excel sheets, 10 of them. Now we see the states are here, but this here is not the best way to go about this, doing this. So there's a better way, and that is using purrr package. It's faster, it's efficient. So this here, this is normally how most people would do it. This is how I used to do it before I learned about purrr package. Now we are going to learn how to implement this in using purrr mapped function from purrr package. So we will go back to R for data science, and we will come and see what they are telling us here. Here they are talking about multiple Excel files. I will first do the multiple sheets, and then second we will do the multiple Excel files. But let's browse through this and see what they are doing. So here they recommend that you can use this function list.files from base R. And so I'm gonna copy this. I can type it up, but I'm just gonna cheat a little bit, copy it. But that's not what I want this time. So let's go back to here. First, we are going to work with multiple Excel sheets. We already have the path here. So what we will do here is let's name our, maybe we call it a multi Excel sheets. We just need a unique name to name the new file that we are going to create. And here we are going to call the Excel sheets function. We are going to pipe this into map function. And now it's telling us, okay, give the, it's not map apply. So let's say we say path equal path that we created earlier, and then the function that we are going to use, which is this. Now let's try running this and see what will happen. So we are getting an error and saying the argument path is missing, and the reason is saying that because I need to pipe it in here. Now when we run this, we get a list, 10 lists, because there are 10 Excel sheets. So we get 10 lists. When we use the mapped function, it will output lists. So there are 10 of these, and we need to find a way to combine these so that we have a data frame rather than a list. And the way we can do that is we will pipe this, we will pipe this into list underscore R bin from purrr package as well, and run it. And now we have a data frame of 450 entries or rows observations. So this here, it's just maybe 3 lines of codes compared to this here. So this here is the beauty of using purrr package or mapped function from purrr package. Next, so that was quick. Next, we are going to, now I will copy this to work with the multiple Excel files. So again, what I have done is create 10 files, one for each state of South Sudan. There are other things that we could do to clean this data, but I will show them in the next step after pulling in multiple Excel files. So we will call this path. I just copied this from the book online, and then now I don't have to use this because that's not the path to my files. So I'll do the same thing I did earlier, but this time I'm choosing the multiple files, and the pattern is the Excel. So let's run it and see what it will say. So path, there are 10 paths in this directory or files. And then now we are going to do what we did above. So we will need to rename this. We will need to rename this, name this data frame. Let's call it maybe just data frame df. And let's go back to the book and let's see what they are telling us here. So just browsing through, this is where they are talking about the mapped function. And this is one way to do the map and then the path and then now read Excel. So we will come back to RStudio and say, okay, let's do exactly what they have done, the way they did it, and then say path. Let's call our function Excel. Now let's run it and see what will happen. Okay, so there are again 10 lists, and we are going to use, so we are going to pipe this into lists or bind, and this here is going to convert that into a data frame. Now we have the same data frame that we have here when we combine these and also here. So this is how you import multiple Excel files or Excel sheets into R using purrr package. Just only one function, map, did that for us. Map as variances. So if we say question mark map to look up, no, that's not what we want. Let's look it up to see more information about map from purrr package, the description, and then these are the variances I was talking about, map underscore LGL for logical, and then integers, double, char, which is character, and then mapped vector or vect. There are also other like walk, walk2, and so on. So these are the variances here. There was mapped underscore df, but I think that has been superseded. Let's see. So let me try this. And that would give us the same. So mapped underscore df was a function, a variant of mapped function. But again, I think it has been superseded, or yeah, let's look it up. I don't want to misspeak. Yeah, so it has been superseded using the mapped, map2, imap, and then pmap. Superseded that it's not like map is not, they are the POSIT people now advise using map instead of using map underscore df, and but it's still there, you can use it if you want to, but I stopped using it a while back, so I just use map and along with list underscore rbind to just convert the list into data frame. Now what I will do here is just do some data cleanup, because when we look at this data, we see a lot of NAs, we see a lot of columns that are not useful. So we will pick out columns that we are interested in and then leave out columns that do not make sense to us. And so this is not part of the data import, but it is just part of the data cleaning or tidying and transformation, which is data wrangling. So I'm just going to do this as a part of this tutorial, but basically this, what we have done here is how you import multiple Excel sheets and multiple Excel files into R. That is, we could have done this one here. So let me do this. We could have done this. And then we could have written a lambda function. We could do that, or we can just say path And this is how you write the anonymous function or lambda function in R. Now let's run and see if we're going to get an error. So we didn't get an error, but let me do this. Let me change it to see. This is how I always validate to make sure that that one ran. Yeah, so it ran without throwing an error. So this is another way we could have done. And you can do it this way, especially if you have, let's say, for example, there are other arguments that you would like to include. For example, if there were rows that you wanted to skip, then using anonymous function would have allowed you to do so. Other argument that are part of the read underscore Excel. But this is not necessary because our data is as expected. There are no other arguments that we would like to include within the read underscore Excel function. And then now let's see, that's all on that side. So what I will do is just clean up the data a little bit, and then that will end our tutorial. So let's look at the data frame. I will keep this column just for the sake of it. But when we look at column names, so we can view our data inside here by using the view function instead of clicking it like the way I was doing. So why is it doing that? Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we can do it, view it like that. And we can also use the glimpse function. And what the glimpse function will do is it will print out a summary like this. So we see all the columns. There are 11 columns. There are 450 rows. And these are columns. So when you have a column name that has a space between the words, then it's contained or included, it's braced within the backticks. We will need that first column. We will also need the region name, which is the state name. We will need the variable name, which is population. It contains population. We will need age, and then age name, and excuse me, and then this 2008 is the population column. So let's go back and we will remove this. Now let's say tidying and transform. First thing we will do, we will use a function called clean underscore names from a janitor package to tidy our column names, clean them. Now the names have been converted into lower cases, and underscores are used where there are more than one word in a column name. Next, we are going to select columns of interest, columns that we are interested in using the select function or select verb from deploy R. And what I will do, I will use the glimpse function here, glimpse function. And then let me just select. There are several ways or two ways we could have done this. We could have just used the index or the position of the column by using like 1 for the first column and so on. But we are going to just select the column names that we are interested in. Region name, I will rename this as state. So what I will do, I will break, or let me just do like this, because there's something that I would like to show you all as well. Mm. Now, so let me see what that is. The variable name. Okay. I will call this here, I call it gender. And now you see I'm like running out of space, but I will keep it like that because I need to show you something that is gonna make it look nice for us. So we need this here. We will call this H category. And then the last one, we will call it population. This is, so the column name is a number, so we put it in the backtick. Okay, so I got an error. And so the newer version of R is just, it's not doing it that way anymore. It's just putting X before the number. That's why it threw the error. But it's important because this error is, it's a good learning example. It says cannot subset columns that don't exist. So it didn't find the column that I put in. This here was in the backticks. And then, so that's how you diagnose or debug. Now let's see. So here we have only 5 columns. And then we can do more data cleaning. So what I was saying, this here is not, it doesn't look good because it's all running over. You have to be organized, because the most important thing is for your code to be legible, easy to read by you. Maybe Hadley Wickham said the future you. So by future you and all the other people will be reading your code. So there's a function from that, there's a package called style R, or a styler, style R, I think. We will use it to format this code. So I'm just gonna highlight this. I can do Control Shift P, and then type style. And then when I start typing, it will bring it up. So style is selected, shouldn't. So we are going to select, and I think it didn't do it. So why it didn't do it? The other way I have been doing it is going to add-ins. And so where is it? So that didn't do it. Okay, let me try again. Let me remove some of these. Okay, so I'm gonna try again. Let me highlight this. Or you can do it for the whole active file. So I'm doing Command Shift P and then start typing what I'm looking for. So let's say active file. And again, it didn't do it. So maybe something has changed. So I'm just gonna manually do it. And what I'm doing, I'm breaking to the next line so that all these columns can be read clearly. So now this is better. And this is how you're supposed to write like this kind of code here. Other thing I usually do is I go to the next line and like that, but it doesn't make any difference. So we have now selected the column of interest. And then the next thing we need to do the next thing we need to do is, so let me come here. We need to replace these NAs. As you can see, this is saying Greater Equatoria. So below each state name are NAs, and those rows are for that state. So we are going to use field to fill them in, and we are going to separate the gender column because, as you can see, there is a population, comma, male, and then it's space, and then number in parentheses. We will need the middle part where it says male and female and so on. We don't need this other part. So we will use a variant of separate function from tidyr. So the first thing we need to do is to use the field from tidyr, and here we give it a column that we need to fill, and we can do it like this and then come back and see what has happened. By default, it's going to fill it downward, but you can specify those if you want to. So when I click like this, there is dot direction, and this dot direction has some options. So I'm gonna delete this. Yeah. So the option, the arguments that will do that. Okay. So there's down, upward, up, or downward, upward, or down, up, or up, down. I've always used down. I have never used the other arguments, but that is what you do to fill those NAs. Just go in there because I know that those rows belong to the column they state whose name appears above. Otherwise, you should not do that if they were different. Other thing we should have done, we could have called this former region. Yeah, former region is correct. Let's leave it like that. And then now we are going to separate the gender column. So we will say separate, and then we start typing, and now separate. We can do separate underscore long underscore dim or separate underscore long. We will do the wider, and wider here, we will go back to R for data science, and we will see it has been used here. Okay, I think I passed it. So let's go back. Okay, so it's hiding from me. So let me leave it. It's not important. I can say, let's look it up here. I just want to show you how it works. I use it a lot. This is experimental, so it's new. It's just being recommended in place of just separate function. And I always go straight to the examples. So this is what the function does. So you put in the data, but here we are piping our data in to give it the columns or column, and then give it the delimiter, and then the names, and then names underscore separate, and names underscore repair. Some of these I have not used before, but I have used too few. So there are times when you want to only pull out part of your column and then don't care about the other part. So let's see. Let's go back up and say the column that we want to separate is the gender column. And now delimiter is gonna be here. I will use spaces. I'm not gonna use comma. If I use comma, then it's just gonna separate it into two. But I don't want to separate it into I don't want to separate it into two. I also want to get rid of this parenthesis number inside. So if I use spaces, it's gonna split it into three columns. And then so now we can do that, and then we will say names. And then names we will do, I will do NA. I need the middle part, and the middle part is what I will call gender. And now let's try running it like this and see what will happen. So now we are getting an error and say delimiter must be a single string, not the empty string. So, okay. And if we put comma, then it's gonna separate it into two, and we will come here, and it has retained this part, the middle part that I was saying. And the reason we don't see the other column is because we are calling it with still or separate underscore wide underscore delimiter delimit to just make it and drop it. And so I like it this way because it will give me one more step to show something else. So now we look at this, but we don't need this part where it says parenthesis number close parenthesis. So we will have to remove that. And the way we will have to remove that is we are going to use a mutate function from dplyr. So mutate, and we will take the gender column, and here we can solve this using different methods, but what I will do is I'm just going to use str from a string, or I will use str remove. And so it is asking us to give it a string. So the string is going to be the column name. And the pattern that we are going to remove, I'm going to say remove this here. I will also include that in space. So I'm just going to say remove this. I will put it here, but we will run it because I want us to learn something from this. Because the parenthesis is also a special character in R, and R is just going to ignore it. So let's say that, and now I didn't take it away because of what I said. So now let's try doing this. Let's just skip those, and now let's try. Now it has removed it. So before we told R that these close and the open parentheses are not a special character, these are something that we don't care about. If we only put one backslash, a backslash is also a special character in R, so R will not do anything about it. But now we are saying, okay, get rid of those, we don't want them. There is a space here, and that's why those have been removed. And now we have cleaned this column. We are left with what we are actually interested in. The other thing that I will get rid of, we don't need the total columns. These total columns can be calculated from the rows. No, sorry, not columns. These total rows can be calculated from rows containing male and female, because those are the original observations. So we can do this by filtering those out using the filter verb from dplyr, and we will say gender. If we say gender is exactly total, then that will only return the total columns. So let's do that, but that's not what we are interested in. We want to remove those. So we got like an empty data set. So something is wrong, and we can go back and run the first part and see what we did wrong. And gender, so gender here. Okay, I think I know what might be wrong, but let me see what I typed in there. So I think there is probably an empty space. Okay, so that didn't do it. Okay. Then what is the issue? Let's see. Oops. Okay. I'm gonna do this. Let me. Okay, so there is a space before total in the gender column. That's why it is not, R is not finding it, because it's saying what you have given me is not what is in the data frame. So let's see if we add a space, see if that is gonna remove or give those. Yeah, see, it works. But this is not what we want. So another way to solve this issue, because we don't want these spaces, the other way we can do this is we can chain on to this function here. We can chain something on another function called trim, sorry, str trim. And that should get rid of, yep, now I got rid of the spaces. That is space here, and that's why after we ran it, it didn't give us, it gave us the blank. Yeah, now we got rid of that. And we can easily check this again. The other thing we can do, we can say data frame. We want the gender column, and let's say unique values. And now there are no spaces here. But like I said earlier, this is not what we are interested in. So we can say to negate this. So we say, okay, give us all the rows excluding the total columns, the total rows, or rows containing total in them. Then that is going to do the opposite. And this is what we want. And then the next thing we can do is clean up this age category. I think there are too many categories, but we can shrink them down, and it depends on what you want. There are no right or wrong answers, but especially when you have too many categories and you want to perform exploratory analysis. So what will happen is your data is going to be overstretched. So too many columns, you will have fewer people or counts in each category. And too many categories will overstretch your data. Too fewer categories may lead to overcrowded data. So you want a balance, like the best number, or you need to find the best number of categories or 8 categories that will fit your data well. We used to do this by hand in statistics when I used to teach statistics at Middle Tennessee State University. But there are formulas that are used for determining the number of categories that you want to divide your data into. But here I'm just going to decide. So first we need to look at the 8 categories and see how many of unique categories we have or classes we have. So there are actually 15. 15 is too many. But we don't need this total column here, that's wise. But I will go from 0 to 14, and then from 15 to 24, and so on. But let's get rid of this total row in the each category column. So here we will say, we could have said, yeah, we can do this one and say each category. We don't want it to be equal total. Now let's do that. We got rid of that, and then now we will come back here again and say, okay, let's look at those. Now there are 14. So let's take this. I'll just copy this. Go back to your data frame. We will use case, again, within mutate function. And we could have done it up there, but I'm just going to do it down here. So within mutate function, we are going to take the H category. And we will say is equal case when. So we will say each time, we will say when H category is int, and then we'll do a subset. So I'm just going to paste this here. This is not the best way to do it because you can easily make mistakes. But what I will do, I'll say if H category is in this interval like this, if it is in that category, in those intervals, then we will call it 0 to 14. And then we will repeat the same thing until we are done. So H category in, and then we will say, I said earlier that we are going to go from 15 to 24. If that is the case, then we will call this 15 to 24. You need to watch out because you can easily make a mistake here. I will intentionally make a mistake later on so that we can debug that. So let's come here. Here we will call it, so we are using the tilde. We will call this 25 to 34. Age category in, and then now 35 to 44. Next one will be 45 to 54. This is 45 to 54. We are almost done. So the last, but not the least, it's going to be 55 to 54. So here I will make a mistake intentionally. I will intentionally make a mistake. The last category, we can leave it as just 65 and above or plus. So the way you do it, you say, if it is true, then just make it that. Make it that. Now let's run it, and we get an error. It says unexpected string contained in, and then it is just running around without telling us what it is. So let's see below here if it's going to help us find it. Okay, so I've already spotted one, and the one mistake we have or issue is here we are missing a comma here. So that is not even what I intended. That's not where I made a mistake. So let's see again. I made a mistake here, but this here was not intentional. So that was like a real mistake. And then this one was intentional. And then now let's run it. And then we are getting another mistake, but that mistake was intentional. And what it is, let's see if we can diagnose. It says unexpected numeric constant in, and then true. So the mistake that I know was intentional here is I left out the comma there. Now let's see if there's another mistake. So there are no other mistakes. And let's go back to our data frame. And we now, we clearly see that the age categories are now from 0 to 4, 15 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, 55 to 64, and then 65 plus. And yeah, our data is now tidy, and we can do more with it, but that is all I wanted to show you. The purpose of this tutorial was just to show you how to import multiple Excel sheets and files into R using a for loop, but mostly using a mapped function from purrr package. So I hope you will find, or I hope this was helpful. Please let us know if there are topics that you are interested in. We will be doing live tutorials every Saturday and Sunday it will depend. Mostly Saturday will be data science with R. Sunday will be, it will depend on the day, on the week. There are weeks when I will be doing data science with Python, or just talk about general knowledge. I think next Sunday I will be talking, I will show you all how to use Google Docs, because some people reach out to me about tools, using open source tools or tools that are freely available without having to pay for Microsoft subscription. So I will show, I will have a tutorial, live tutorial on Sunday on how to use Google Docs to write for your writing. So again, thank you all for your time. We appreciate it. Please don't forget to share our videos, like, comment, and also subscribe to our YouTube channels, Jungle Institute and Lerwai Data Studio. Also follow us on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Until then, see you. Take care. Bye.